Yeah. Let me hit record here. Test 1, test 2, tiggity, 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 test, test in 1 and 2. What you got?
So, does Nickelodeon do that anymore? Or is that a...
I don't know, but we have Paramount Plus, so I've been hearing the old Nick stuff. We watched
Oh,
like
okay.
Legends of the
Okay.
Hidden Temple and all that noise.
Nice. We should, you know, we should do Legends of the Jedi Temple again.
Oh yeah, yeah. Matthew, did you do that with Andre when he did that a few years ago during COVID?
I
No,
did.
I didn't.
No, I know I did one or two with Marina and Alan. You might have been
Mhm.
on one or two of them.
Yep. I
That
did
was
all of
fun.
them.
Yeah, I bet you it's still on the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. Why wouldn't it be? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. We should do that. What was that called? Jedi Temple Challenges or something?
No, Legends of the Jedi Temple. It was literally a straight rip.
Well, then that's what we're doing. Uh, next time.
Nice.
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
So tonight we have well, by the way, welcome to Smafcast episode 50. Who knows? We're probably in the late 50s by now. And we have a returning guest. He was here maybe 5 episodes ago. This is
Hello.
Matthew Dominguez from San Diego Sabers. What's going on, Mr. Matthew?
Not much, man. Just same old, same old. Training, keeping it real, keeping it easy.
So last time you were here, we talked a lot about like you, your martial arts journey, a little bit
Yeah.
about the group San Diego Sabers and kind of what's going on with them now, how you've been doing with your classes and the teaching and everything like that. Tonight we kind of get to let our hair down a little bit more. This
Yep.
afternoon, and we're gonna watch the fights from the San Diego Sabers Labor Day barbecue that you guys just did, a Shatterpoint event.
Yes.
Super
Yes.
cool. And so a little different than what we've recently been releasing too. Recently, Alan and I did the commentary for our light fencing seminar that we did, which is a very specific rule set, very different than like what San Diego Sabers and a lot of us in Saber martial arts started as and normally do as our bread and butter style of saber fighting. Tonight we're getting back to that from the looks of it. Pretty much standard saber fighting the in non-standard excellence, if that makes sense. So it's going to be great
Nonsense.
fighting. Lots of different martial arts styles represented in San Diego Saber. So before we get started, Matthew, and I know Alan was in attendance, so he's going to give us some insight as well. But before we get started, why don't you give us a little intro to what we're going to watch tonight? Anything that you feel is prudent to mention.
Right. So last month we had a barbecue, um, and we just sort of wanted to have a really loose tournament where there was no stakes, no tournaments. I mean, no prize, excuse me, no entry fee. It was just sort of let's all have fun. And with the pretense of it still being a tournament, and it sort of encouraged a lot of new people to just try it out. We ran it as a tournament, um, and it simply was just fun. It had people come up using different styles. We had brand new faces from not just our club, but all the way from Phoenix, from Alan's group. That was awesome. And it was just a great time, food and fun. And I think a lot of people were really happy to sort of experience what it was like at a tournament level,
Yeah,
quote unquote. And
yeah.
it was a really, really great day. Not just that though, before the tournament, we had a lot of conversations about just the Saber world, just mingled
Mm-hmm.
around a bit, and just really connected with the community. As I mentioned in my first appearance a while ago, was we try to be family oriented. We try to build that community, and a lot of us brought like a lot of toys, right?
Yeah.
Especially me. I pulled out my HEMA gear and some FMA
Mm-hmm.
gear. We talked shop uh, with a lot of other people about like the other styles in the world besides lightsabers and sort of how that sort of connects to this hobby. It was a great day of just socializing and whatnot and hitting each other.
So
So that's what
then,
we did.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, what? And I'm sorry, by the way, that I was not there to man somebody's grill. Usually, when I'm in San Diego, I end up cooking for about 30 nerds. Um,
Shout out to Andre Marquis for being Grill Dad. He took the mantle
oh, nice,
and
nice.
he did it, man. And
We
you know
love
what?
Andre.
We love Andre. He was chef master for the day. And shout out to everybody who brought actual like food.
That's so
Because I was
nice.
really I was really afraid it was gonna be like chips and soda
Yeah, yeah.
for the weekend, but nah, bro. We brought the meat. We brought the
Sweet,
schmeat.
man. Sweet.
So,
I love that.
mm-hmm.
So then let me ask you this. How many or what percentage do you think were newbies or versus people who'd done it before?
I would say there was a good. Okay, so in terms of people who regularly enter tournaments and have like a seasoned tournament thing under their belt, I would say about 60% people,
Yeah.
50 to 60, were about like we've been in a tournament before at least
Mm-hmm.
once.
Yeah.
The other 50, I would say, are either never been in a tournament, maybe they've done just like a single in-school tournament,
Sure.
like with between us.
Minimal to
Uh,
no experience.
Minimal to no experience.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've been fighting for a while, so we've had a couple students where they've been part of the
Yeah.
club for
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
just have never fought at a tournament. So I count them as new,
Cool.
because that is a whole the different world.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So
Well, it's a different
it's not,
layer of your training as well, right? Like,
yeah,
not necessarily a necessary part, depending on who you are and what your goals are. But uh, once you add that layer, it becomes a necessary part for sure. Um,
exactly.
at least for your personal progress. I know a lot of times once people get bitten by the competitive bug, they really become competitive. And we talked
I
about
hope
that on
so.
your last episode quite a bit, actually. And you offered some good
Yes.
insights as far as like being able to control that sort of inner demon, or letting it out sometimes. And so
Right, right,
go
right.
back and listen to that. I believe it's episode 50, which um, as we're recording this, will be releasing this week. As you are hearing this, it will have been out for
Woohoo.
a few weeks already. Um,
Woohoo.
so then, I don't know, Alan, from your perspective, because I mean, obviously you've been to 150 San Diego Sabres meetings and such. Was there anything that stood out to you this time around versus others, or anything you want to make note of specifically?
Let's see here.
I mean, in the sense that I should sort of addendum here. Like, we know it was a good experience. I know that. And we know that there's going to be like you expect certain things, right? That's kind of why you go, because you expect to have a good time. You expect to see good fights and be in good fights. Anything in specific other than that specifically that was like something of note.
Two of my students, this is going to be their first tournament ever. They came,
Oh yeah.
they they made the drive. Actually, three of my students made the drive, but one of them had a health issue, and he had to drive back home like the morning of because he just was not able to sleep
Yeah.
because of how much pain he was in.
That's
And
unfortunate.
yeah, he was like, and I basically had to tell him, hey man, it's okay. There'll
Yeah.
be other tournaments, I swear.
Hmm.
But yeah, it sucks that you drove all the way here, but at the same time, you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So, um, very much that kind of idea. If you are, um, and a message to the listeners, if you are not feeling 100%, I mean, not mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, sometimes before you actually go to any athletic event or competition, make sure you check in with yourself.
Mm.
See if you're,
Wow.
feeling at all like this is a good idea. And if you have to ask yourself if this is a good idea, chances are it's not.
That's a
You know
really
what I mean?
good point that I feel like I completely overlook all the time, but
Yeah,
really important.
yeah. And because nobody wants you to get hurt. That's the
Hmm.
thing. And then
Hmm.
no one wants you to get hurt, especially for a lightsaber
Yeah.
tournament, right? So it's like it's not at all um, important or life threatening in any way.
Right.
You're not letting down your country, nation. You're
There's no
you're not
UFC
actually.
contract on the line
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no money involved,
Hmm.
especially in a tournament like this, which was great because there was no prize, no entry fee, nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's like super casual. It's okay. And if there is like a yearly competition or something that you've been training for and you still feel sick, please still take care of yourself
Yeah.
before you go and do it. I'm going to point out the most awesome person in competition I've ever seen. Simone Biles, who took it upon herself to take herself out of the Olympics because
Yes.
she wasn't
Yeah.
feeling 100%. This
Mm.
is so important. She's been training for 4 years and she was like, nope, not, I don't know where I am when I'm flipping around in the air. That's super dangerous for me and for everybody else. I'm going to go ahead and step out. That takes a very seasoned amount of just knowing your body in
Mm-hmm.
order
Yeah.
to to do that, because even though yes, people were like, "Oh, that sucks. You went to do that, and you let the country down." It's like, no, she didn't. She actually took care of herself so she could show up in 4 more years and just kick more ass,
Mm.
And did.
There you
And
go.
she did, and
And
she was
she
like, "Yeah,
did.
there you go, yeah." And that's the thing is like, if you are not feeling at 100%, it's okay to check with yourself, see if it makes sense to continue to uh, um, continue to do the competition. But if you're not um, at all, if you have to ask yourself, "Hey, is this a good idea?" Chances are it's not, and you have to be able to communicate that, and or hopefully somebody is seasoned enough for you to look at you and go, "Hey, you know what? You should probably step out."
Yeah.
If you're not 100%, you're not 100%. Who would have
Yeah.
put that together?
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, common
it's
sense is uncommon.
There you
yeah,
go.
it's there you go.
So
It is very important.
as we watch, we'll just shift gears right here. As we watch, Alan and Matthew, as
Yes.
you kind of see little things stylistically or whether it's forms based or something, definitely call it out, talk about it, whatever, because that's why we're here. But
Ah,
these are 3-minute matches. Am I correct about that?
just at max, yeah, at
Okay.
max.
And this first video, Alan, is this all pools? What's up with the first video?
It's I think 3 out of the 4 pools,
Okay. Okay.
or
So,
at least 2 of them. I could only put together what was recorded on my phone. We did 2 separate rings
okay.
during the pool fights, and I got my students have a couple of had a couple of these
Okay.
set up as well. So David gave me his from his pools, and I was there for Molly's. So you'll see these. They may or may not be in the same order that
Mhm.
that they actually happen, but they're pool fights, so it doesn't really matter which order they come
Yeah,
in.
it's just
Yeah,
qualifying for the actual competition.
Yeah, well, it's not even qualifying. It's setting
Well,
up
yeah, the tree, the
the
placement.
brackets.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
brackets. That's the word. I
yeah.
see this pools thing has been an object of much silly discussion for us internally over the years, and mostly because of Nick and his world of fencing revolves around pools,
Mhm.
which is that's the way it goes, and they have thousands of people competing sometimes, so
Yeah, and
it's
also
different.
it's a way to it's a way for everybody to fight more.
They fight in,
So,
basically. You fight into your placement, which is a great way to do
right.
things at the end of the
mhm.
day. I like that
Right.
anyway. A round robin or a king of the hill or some sort of fight your way in is always
hmm
something I appreciate. Um,
Es- Especially when like people are coming in from far away, they
exactly.
Yeah.
want to do something, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sometimes
Yeah,
these
you don't
people
want to.
pay thousands of dollars, definitely
Yeah.
hundreds, to go travel to these Saber tournaments where they're not winning any money
Yeah.
usually.
right,
And so,
Yeah.
they're doing it because they genuinely want to. That is money and time away from their families that they really like they dedicated to your activity or the activity. And so yeah,
yeah,
I appreciate the fact that like they don't just fight once and then they're done, or fight twice and
Right.
then that's the end of it.
hmm
Like 2 minutes of total fight time and that's the end of it. That
exactly.
Right.
sucks. So this is good. It gives everybody a way to fight a lot, and you could be the least experienced person and still end up at the top of the pools. with a really good placement, or you could be the best person and end up with a really crappy placement in the pools based on the way you fight. And I know, Alan,
Yeah.
sometimes that's a strategy you actually employ, is to just kind of fight silly through the pools, not like disrespectfully silly, but just like try things, do little techniques and things you wouldn't normally do if you were trying to win, just to kind of
Absolutely.
see what happens.
Hmm.
Yes,
So,
correct.
Yeah. This is gonna be fun. I don't think I've ever been. This is a little aside. I think I've only ever fought like did fighting commentary once on this whole show, and
oh, really?
yeah, and your
Oh.
guys are about to listen to what goes on my brain, and it's exciting because I the ADHD gets honed into
Oh,
this, right?
I love this.
So,
Well, before you go anywhere, go to san diego sabers.life and or go to
hmm
sabermartialarts.life and click on the San Diego Sabers link. And
yes,
um, yeah, go check out what they have to offer. Then go to YouTube, go to the Saber Martial Arts YouTube channel and click on the playlists. Go to the Labor Day Barbecue playlist, and I will link that in the show description because I'm a gangster. I'm just kidding. All right,
yes, sir.
so let's let's start up with the first playlist or the first video in the playlist, and other unless we say like we're gonna pause right here, we'll just keep running through the fights as they come,
Yep,
and we can always pause if we really want to talk about something specific. And Matthew, Allen, go ahead and use your game show button and let me know if you want to pause. Um,
got it.
Otherwise, if you have that video pulled up, great. If not, pause and pull it up, and we're gonna play in 3, 2, 1, play. This is the first video, the pools.
I have an ad because I don't pay for YouTube.
Neither do I. But
We'll pause then. We'll
we'll
pause.
Oh, I'm
pause. We'll
so
pause.
sorry.
We'll give
All
everybody
right.
another 3, 2, 1. They're probably chuckling
Yes.
right now.
Uh,
It's under Labor Day Barbecue 2024. San Diego Sabers, by the way.
yes, yes, yes.
And while we're waiting for the fun ads, really quickly, um,
Okay, I am good to go, and we're doing pool fights. Yes, we go.
yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. I like the Shatterpoint explosion there.
It's beautiful.
Big fan.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Big fan. I like the text too. That's a cool
Ah,
font. We're gonna
this is
have
so
to
sick.
use that
This is
font
so
later.
sick. What the heck?
Pretty
This is
excited.
so cool.
All
All
right,
right,
so
so
we have
ew, who
Alan
is that
versus, is that Jonathan?
disgusting, lanky
Oh, Sloan. Of
man?
course.
All
Sloan
right,
makes sense.
Sloan versus Allen. Here we go.
Sloan is very competitive.
100%. This he's he sleeps, breathes, and eats the competition, bro.
Yes. And shout out
Um,
to Andre, Grillmaster Andre on the back right there.
Grillmaster Andre watching. Yup. Okay, so let's talk about this fight. Enough about the. I'm kidding. I
We've got
love
one
watching
nothing for
Sloan's
Sloan right now.
progression.
Now 1-1 for Alan.
1-1. Yes. So Sloan here has a really interesting
Hmm.
style here to the disarm. Um, he sort of hates himself for this, but he's a very linear fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He really digs into a lot of like kendo sort of practices and sort of like principles and game plans.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, he doesn't walk offline. He's very strong going forward. He parries with a lot of force.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he does step offline like that, we've spoken a lot privately, and that's just something he's uncomfortable with.
Hmm.
He just does not like doing it. He's probably trying it on the tournament, but a lot of his points are going to come from just like holding the line
Yeah.
and just walking forward.
That is a
Um,
tactic.
and
That is a
and
tactic.
because it is a tactic, and his parries have grown significantly
Mm-hmm.
since he started. He
Mm-hmm.
was usually just the hand sniper
Mm-hmm.
that most people sort of that like go into, but you know, after fighting hand snipers for a while, and then you start to like that, right? You
Mm-hmm.
start to learn other ways of fighting besides just cheesing it out, and I
Yep.
think blocking is something he's put time into, and his next step of growth is lateral movement, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But
And you can see him
I like
testing
that.
out the waters a
So
little
in
bit.
terms of right. So in terms of fighting, what I'm seeing between here and Alan,
Mm.
right? So Alan is trying to dig his way in. He
Mm-hmm.
knows
Mm-hmm.
that Sloane likes to parry, and Alan, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm really just shooting from the hip here, and I'm just trying to
Go
call it
for it.
like I see it, right? I see Alan. Alan knows that Sloane is gonna block. He's gonna move his hands out of the way to protect himself, but he's also going forward, right? He's a wall.
Mm-hmm.
So what Alan is trying to do here is trying to dig in, very very calculated.
Find
He's
cracks in
trying
the
to
wall.
draw the guard, or at least like find cracks in the wall and take the arm, take
Mm-hmm.
the positions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like there, Alan did like a flick up and then maybe like a flick around to the side. Sloan took pulls,
Yeah,
but
that was good.
um,
Yeah, it was very good.
because of that, right? That shows how much Sloan is just a very like strong wall going
Mm-hmm.
forward. Now here we have Joe. He's one of the people I mentioned earlier that comes to the club, just hasn't competed.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to
Um,
Joe for the Filipino skewers he brought.
oh my God, when I said we bring Schmeat, we bring the Schmeat. Joe brought Joe brought the barbecue, and that was awesome.
So sweet.
So shout out to Joe for the food. Um, Joe has adopted a lot of destreza. He's been reading a lot of rapier manuals. So you could see him trying to do one-handed
Mhm.
movements. He switches a lot between grips, but I feel like this is not a dig into his style, but I feel like a lot of Joe's attacks doesn't have too much of a game plan because every time I speak to him and we spar, it's a lot of like posturing and technique, which, you know, is good to have fundamental, but I feel like you could be a bookworm, but if you can't put the context to the move, it falls short a
Mm.
lot.
Right, there is a
So,
difference between reading a book about climbing Everest or freezing with your Sherpa.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
So in this fight between Alan and Joe, it's almost similar, right? It's a lot of digging, it's a lot of precise movements, but if we're gonna talk technical fencing, right? I see Alan is trying to do a prep here. He's trying to do a lot of compounded movements. He would either come in with a feint, come in with a block, and then sort of uh, you know, follow up with the real attack later.
Yep.
Joe is a counter attacker.
Mhm.
So he's waiting for Alan to come in, maybe see a crack and get advantage of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Alan is the one moving forward most of the time,
Mhm.
right? So Joe is patiently waiting to counterattack what's happening here. Either hitting towards the arm, uh, not crazy movements. I don't see Joe lunging in as often, and if so, it's probably because he thinks he saw like a hole.
Right, right.
But that's very similar to what Alan's doing too. He's just being a lot more aggressive, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
Alan took the win here.
Yeah.
Now this is an interesting fight, right? Because Joe is an aggressive. I'm gonna say was playing a little bit more of like a counter version of Allen, um, but turns up the aggression against Sloan a little bit here, and it, it's it's fascinating because um, Sloan's parries took Joe's attacks offline by a lot, but his recovery into being safe is like there, right? Sloan parried it down, but Joe still stuck around for the
Right.
redouble.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if I'm just slinging words, like please correct. I am again. This is my ADHD brain. When I watch people fight, this is what I think of. It's
It's
just
all good. You
words
only
and
have
words
so
and
much
words and
time to
words and
speak about
words.
each thing as it's happening, right? So you just gotta let fly with the stream of consciousness.
Right.
It's all good.
You just gotta let fly. You just gotta let
Hey,
think.
also another
Right.
note,
Right.
words are really good on an audio podcast.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
You know what? You're absolutely right. So, and so you know what? And so people who aren't watching this video, you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
very welcome.
Yeah. It's
So
just
now
like watching a hockey
Joe
game
is
back in
finding
the
out that
back
he
in the
can't
60s.
necessarily. Right, that's true. It's true. Got the
Yeah,
radio.
Joe
So
switched
so Joe
to a
switches
two-handed rapier
between
and then switched back.
yes. Yes, yes, yes. So Joe has a lot of tricks, right? He has a lot of interesting stances and interesting ways to like hold a guard, and you'll see it now and then, right? But ultimately, the end result of these guard switches would end in a compound or counterattack. I rarely see Joe initiate a simple attack or a parry riposte. So
Mm.
because of that, most of his points were just running at him and just hitting him.
Yeah.
Because Joe is trying to set up a lot of things, but a simple attack in principle would be a counterattack because of how fast it is in intention.
Right.
So to translate that for the beginners, Sloan hits person faster because he wants to hit. Joe is thinking 5D chest, and in the moment he's taking to think
Mhm.
5D chest, he's getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what's happening there. Not to say he's not
Mhm.
scoring points because thinking 5D chest is advanced, but sometimes when you overthink by a millisecond, you lose by a millisecond, and that's sort of the what I'm trying to say here.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
here's a lovely fight between Adam and Jonathan,
Who
both
fight
starting
like
off two-handed, which is interesting.
they fight like
They're
100
they're
times a day. These two
gorgeous.
fight each other all the time.
They are sparring left and right.
Yeah.
Um, so Adam switched his one-handed grip, which is his comfortable grip. I don't know why he started two hands. He goes back and forth. I'm unsure what his goal was here. Jonathan, shout out here. Jonathan's been on that hemo
You
grind.
can tell.
You could tell he's got the stance, he's got the movement, he's got the footwork. It's an absolute glow up. Jonathan went from that kid you bully in high school to being like the CEO of a company, and now you wish you hated him. Like it's interesting, right? He hit the books, but not just he hit the books, he hit the context. And so Jonathan is really like showing up, and he's really like putting the footwork, putting the body mechanics, and whether he wins or loses, it's he's their structure there, and that's a big difference from if you watch any of his fights before. Um, Adam is trying new things, and by new things, I mean entirely new things. So he is completely fighting with a two-hand stance right now. His leading foot is behind, which is an interesting take here.
Left-handed as
But
well. Is he
to give
always
him credit,
left-handed?
left-handed is he's always left-handed.
Oh,
He's
I
always
didn't know
left-handed.
that
But
actually.
we always welcome learning, and I have yet to ask him why he did that, but I'm sure he'll give me a very sophisticated
Oh,
answer.
so he's not left-handed in general.
That we could. Oh, he's left-handed in general, but he's
Oh.
not two-handed in
Oh,
general.
okay, okay, okay.
That's a
Okay.
difference.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you on that.
He's
I'm with
never
you.
he always fights one-handed Makashi. He's very
Yeah.
Makashi, very precise. But that was different, and I didn't really get to ask why he was doing that
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
that tournament. But I respect it. I respect it. Always want to learn. Always got to learn.
And here
So
you
here
are
we have
fighting with the
reigning
Shoto.
champion Molly. Yes, with an absolute Shoto. So so I'm having fun. I wanted to fight with a 25-inch blade against Molly, who is Alan's student. Alan, do you want to talk about Molly a little bit and where she like came into play with your club? Or not, that's
What?
totally cool. So,
Well,
uh,
oh, I missed your question.
no, it's all
Molly,
good.
how
I
did
was
she
like,
get
so
involved with
how did
Phoenix?
so Molly, how
Well,
did she get involved?
how did she get involved?
Yeah,
Because
she's
I
your
was like,
student.
yeah. So Molly is actually in Phoenix for college, so she wanted to do something active and something she was into. So she decided to do that. She brought her parents to her first uh, place, her first tournament, and she's just like she's gone through the forms of Chicho, Makashi, Sarasu, and uh, Ataru, but she hasn't actually fought a lot. So
Okay.
A
she
student.
this is her first, yeah. So this is her first foray into actually hitting somebody and getting hit by somebody.
Yeah.
So and she's comfortable with that length of blade when she does her form. So that's what she's using
Yeah,
here.
I noticed that it wasn't a full 36
Yeah,
Hagakure,
it
so she was
looks like
also
a
Hmm.
much
28 or
shorter
a
than
30
normal.
maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was real cool. And I respect people who build to their strengths rather than just
Hmm.
like
Well,
maxing out.
and
Yeah.
Matthew,
Um,
you're like easily 8 to 12 inches taller than her. So using the shorter blade,
I'm all head.
using the shorter blade is definitely yeah, not necessarily a disadvantage for you in this situation, but for
Yeah.
her using anything shorter than yours would be ridiculous in that situation unless she's Yoda. That being said,
Exactly.
she's
You
got a
know.
lot of confidence already. Even though Alan said she hasn't fought a lot, and she's going to fight
Sh
Jonathan here, which is another test of your confidence for sure. Um, and what I
Right.
I
And
noticed right
so,
off the bat, like there's like a
go ahead.
little beginner thing she's doing, where she's got her hands in front of her crotch
Hmm.
for her guard here. That's a very like
Yeah, yeah. And she's leaning forward.
yes, and the blade's
Yep,
pointing straight
yeah.
out, and I know that Alan's going to be addressing that over time. That's not something that happens overnight. That's something that everybody who's starting out kind of does, especially in competition. You get that shoulder tension from the nerves, and then you start putting the hands in front of the
Hmm.
crotch, and your Schwartz is as big as mine thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, she got a little
To
point
give
there.
yeah, to give Molly credit, I mean, besides the typical beginner stance,
Yeah,
right?
right.
There's a lot of there's two things I'll
Oh, look
give
at
credit
that.
here to is lateral movement.
Uh huh.
She's just not rock forward and back,
Mm-hmm.
right? She has aggression. A lot of beginners either full throttle or go the other or pull out,
Yeah, it's
right?
attained
She mixes
aggression.
it, and I love that. Right, right. And she very rarely collapses her feet if
Mm-hmm.
she advances or retreats, right? Like the leading foot goes that
Mm-hmm.
direction, so her stances rarely collapse. She's always balanced, or at least most of the time for a
Yep.
beginner. She hops around a lot, like she's very active,
Right.
but a lot of beginners tend to sort of like fall over their footwork,
Right.
whether
Correct.
they like it or not.
Yes.
And I don't see that in Molly. I see her hopping around, but you know. Is it masterful? Obviously not. But like, she's not tripping on her feet
It
and
could be though
she's
one
also
day.
parrying too. Like right there. Like that's something like, right? That's something that surprised me when I fought
Uh
Molly
huh.
too. Is she actually blocked?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's something a lot of beginners simply don't do or
Mm-hmm.
refuse to do. Oh, now this is cool. So Jonathan and I, if you're not watching the video, you're gonna miss out. You're gonna miss out. Jonathan wanted to respect the short blade, and he also brought a 20 something inch blade, and we're gonna go crazy. Uh, right now, he got the first point, striking straight to the head.
I like that point actually
I'm
quite a
pulling a
bit.
lot more. It was really cute. You can see the two sense of styles here. I'm pulling out my Doce Pares.
For
The
sure.
Escrima's coming out. The stick is flying.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan is pulling Messer. So essentially like a one-handed longsword, quote unquote. And despite being a shorter blade, his movements are less erratic than I am, and it's still controlled. So look at him still take the stance and tog. Look at him still bait forward with his body. It's
Mm-hmm.
still a longsword to him, just a shorter blade. But this fight was awesome because my movements are clearly like lightning and they're clearly flowing, but he is able to parry and just withstand the flurry with just like his stance, right? The short blade it may be faster because it's smaller, but the principles of the fight didn't really change.
Well, you mentioned that he's using a
I'm
Messer
trying to
style, and
draw
I've
as
I've noticed with the Messer, specifically because it has that thick spine, definitely more of a chopping weapon.
yep.
And a lot of the motions you're
It
using,
can
though,
be. It can be.
yeah, but you're following through, but you're also doing a lot of chopping motions. They're follow through chops, but that's
Yes.
characteristic of stick fighting. However, it's basically chopping on chopping. It's a lot of that, and I like that because a lot of my
Hmm.
favorite weapons are that way, shorter with big stout blades and
Ooh.
lots of choppy.
Yep, yep, yep.
You guys are you
It's
guys are going
real
at it.
fun when we fight like this. It's just we're just going crazy. I love my constant like feet moving and Jonathan just standing still like a
Mm-hmm.
rock.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, not falling for any of my feints or not falling for any of my redoubles. He's parrying when he needs to. It's an awesome fight here. Now this ending is gonna be sick. I remember this like daily. Boom. There you go.
Yep.
So I essentially what happened in that last exchange was I did like a retreat with sort of a counterattack, but it was short stopped instead of like a full swing. And the reason I did that was because Jonathan was gonna lunge at me and I didn't want to like miss. So it was just enough to get the hand and then pull out. Otherwise my head would have been just, you know, in pieces if I missed. So anyways, now we move on to Adam and Molly here. Adam has foregone the two-handedness
Mm-hmm.
he was doing and is now going back to his tried and true Makashi fighting style. Adam is being aggressive, but he's not, overpowering the newbie. I think side comment here, there was a lot of respect for the beginners, right? The pools were stacked in a way where we didn't just clobber like Molly or David. We gave them a good clean fight and
Right.
we did our best, right? Like it was tactical, it was a genuine fight. And I think Adam is doing that here too. While he could have experimented with the two-handedness, I see he's doing a tame version of his one-handed approach.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's just trying to be as deadly with precision as he can.
Yeah.
So he's coming closer, he's being aggressive, he's pushing Molly back, but Molly doesn't retreat. Molly is not running away.
Right.
She'll take space, but there's a lot of moments to where she'll parry Adam's thrust and then just dig in, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something beginners you just don't see with like raw beginners.
A
Like
lot of
right here, she
beginners
parried that lunge,
a lot of
right?
beginners as they come in, they'll immediately like back up once they sense the temperature's gotten higher. You know, if they come in at you a
Yes.
little bit aggressive and then you show them just a tiny bit back, a lot of times you'll see them falter back a few feet. And she's not doing that at all. That's
Right.
an interesting point that you brought up.
Yeah, not at all. Adam got the point from that last exchange because she parried it into her foot,
Right.
which happens, sure.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But I mean, it was a beautiful parry,
Yeah.
and if this was a lethal blow, I mean, she got what? Like a scab on her foot. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
So here he goes. Adam's coming in,
Oh, look
still
at that
being
parry.
aggressive. He's being a little tricky with compounded attacks.
Yep.
So he's trying to get Molly to like she's trying to overwhelm her sense of defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Adam's caught on that she's not easily she's not fleeting. She's willing to stand ground, so he's overloading her systems by just going crazy with moves, and some of it's been working. And that last exchange that gives him the match, he
Mm-hmm.
just sort of walked in and just hit her. Um, let's see what this goes here. Sorry, that was a winning point, but that was 4-1 at this point.
Yeah.
So Adam switched back to two-handed fighting.
Playing a little
Then
more defensive
Molly
there.
comes in with a nice. So yeah, so she catches on that he's taking his sweet
Yep.
time. Parry riposte,
Uh-huh.
cuts to the abdomen.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Good timing.
Which is good timing, good textbook, and she was doing it while moving laterally too.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a small, like, what, 10 to 15 second time in between
Mhm.
her fights, and she's taking it to heart.
There you go. Look at that.
Good, 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 good.
See, when
Adam
you
gets the final score. He just.
when you're a
Oh, go ahead.
beginner, I'm sorry, when you're a beginner and you score more than 1 point against somebody who's been doing this for well over 5 years, you're definitely you're winning. You know what I mean? You
You're
don't have to
winning.
win the
Yeah,
match.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
winning.
Yeah. It's a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, so this is a funny one. I'm trolling here. I'm having a fun. I switched back to being a lot more I switched to a little bit more Messer. I pulled out the Eskrima a bit, and here I am trying to do a little more Fabri, a little more Destreza, a lot more Rapier style, which is completely what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't do that with a 20-inch blade against someone who's better. Um, but it's funny, guys. It's funny. It's very funny. So in terms of tactical movements here, um, let's see. So right now I'm doing my tried and true compound attacks. I swing, I redouble, maybe I hit, maybe I don't. Combine with the footwork, which in layman's terms, I swing once, I swing again. If I miss, at least my body will carry me out of the situation. Um, it just means that if I wasn't able to block an attack, my body should probably be enough to evade, and that comes in with footwork. That comes from sort of an Eskrima mindset, especially when you're flinging sticks and flinging blades. Sometimes you're not fast enough to pull the blade back up.
Mm-hmm.
Rely on your body to be out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice when I'm fighting Adam, even though I'm swinging the blade like crazy, right? If I miss, my body's out of the way. So here I take a stupid a stupid Febreze stance and just stab him in the neck. That's there's no tactics of that. Just I don't know, Europeans, I guess. Uh, so now I'm being Mimi with the Streza. And for those who don't know, the Streza is just holding out your sword in front of you and just walking in a circle
Hmm.
because Spaniards think they're the best. I don't know. I wouldn't know. They took over my country for a point
Yep,
in time.
yep.
I guess I can't. I have no reason to argue.
I'm pretty sure they
It
took
seemed to
over
work
your
for them.
country with the Espada
It seemed to
Ancha,
work
though,
for them.
not with the rapier.
True, but they took over our country
Cutlasses
by
and
paying the
Espada
Moors to
Ancha,
fight
and
other Moros.
maybe a small sword
Yeah,
here
yeah,
and there
yeah.
for running the occasional pirate through.
For it's a little bit. So here I am trolling Adam. I think I just wanted to disrespect the shit out of him. I think Adam needs to be put in his place. Let this be on record that boom, he's he's gone on for too long thinking he's hot shit, and I gotta humble him. I gotta say, kid, you gotta sit down. So without looking at him, I just wail him in the head. Okay. Anyway, now back to a real fight, and he actually gets the point. He simply
Oh,
just does a simple attack while I walked into measure,
yep.
gets the point.
Simplicity
So
works.
there's that.
And often
Simplicity works.
often does.
Okay, so this is the other side of the pools.
Hmm.
Um, this is from David's recording
Hmm.
perspective. I didn't actually see any of this, given that I was in pool
Yeah.
one. So this is fresh eyes for me, and I'm gonna stop blabbering and give genuine information for the audience. Whoever's still listening, thank you for supporting San Diego Sabers
Yeah.
and SMAF. And now
So this is
here's
David, my other student that made it. This is his
Okay.
first time
Okay.
doing this stuff too.
yes.
And he was super psyched, and he was very excited to be a part of this and do it and meet everybody. It was very much a one of those things where he's like, man, this was so cool. I need to keep doing this
Hmm.
afterwards. So, and you can tell he's into it. He's got the gear. He's ready to go. He's sticking to
Mhm.
Cho, which is all he knows really.
Yeah.
So he's gone through the forms, but as far as application is concerned, we've only really done this. And as a note with David and Molly is they had maybe 2 weeks to prepare.
Jeez.
Um, yeah. So
Wow.
I was like, "Do you guys want to go?" Yes. Okay. Here we go. Here's what we do.
Hell yeah.
Now, do you know if Ian
My Padawan.
is still running the Hot Topics podcast?
Oh, he's been busy.
No idea. Yeah, he's been busy with school and just injury. Also, I want to talk about Ian, but I want to talk about Paula. That's my
Yeah, yeah.
Padawan right there. And she is going crazy. Her and Ian had, I think, the two best record of the pools, and that made me really happy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have
It,
their fight.
it's okay. It's okay. She dismembered Ian, and it was awesome. So, so Paula, while we have her on screen, I guess I'll talk about her. So she comes from a ballet background, so it was really interesting to sort of work with her footwork because
Hmm.
her mind isn't wrong, but there needs to be some adjustments for structure because I think she was too light on her feet when she started joining, and I really wanted her to be Makashi because we could easily translate her traditional ballet fighting um to a lot of just like destreza footwork, a lot of like lateral movement. It was just ripe. Um, but I think she really enjoys fighting two hands Makashi.
Let me
Makashi, sorry, excuse me,
let me tell you
Shicho,
something about ballerinas,
and
Matthew. I've been around ballerinas
I'm
a
listening.
lot, and
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
daintiest, most graceful, beautiful dancing ballerina secretly wants to like crump her way into your heart. If you know what I'm talking about. Like she wants to
I
do like
know.
the downest, dirtiest hip
Yes.
hop is what she wants. The dudes
I
too,
know.
the
I
ballerinos
know.
too. So you're not gonna get the ballerinas to do your beautiful Makashi and Ataru without letting them gemso or even vapid their way through. You're just not gonna get it.
And I
They
had to
just
learn that the
want to
hard way.
become a freight train.
No, it's true. I worked with Andre at the theater for the ballet for just a little bit when I was like doing sound
Oh
for
yeah.
theater tech. And you're correct. Those
Yeah.
gremlins, man, on stage they're elegant, but off stage they just want to beat the crap
Yeah.
out of
Yeah. I
everything.
mean, you throw on some
And
gangster
so,
rap and they know how to get down,
and they
you
know
give
what
them
to
a sword
do.
and they want to chop you in half.
Yes, it's crazy.
Yeah. They get to
And
let their
and
buns down,
and
so to speak.
one
The bun on their head, by the way.
right. And one final comment on Paolo, right, was when we did Makashi and combined with her existing footwork, she was amazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at heart, that's not what you wanted to do. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna do Jimso, we're gonna do
Yes.
Shicho because that's what
There
you
you
want to
go.
do, and you are gonna excel at it. And she has been doing great. She did phenomenal in the
Yeah.
tournament. Ian has been doing Cerise. I'm gonna go back to Ian real quick. Has been doing a lot of Surisu. He's focusing on defense, and if you are watching along with today, he was blocking like crazy. He
Yes, he
is a
was.
wall of just defense, and it is insane the improvement that he has over the years.
hmm
He's just
we get the
blocking like
husky back
crazy.
there.
Adelaide. Oh yeah, we got the husky checking it out. So now we have Adelaide, who's Matt Jensen's daughter, and she's a wild card, and I mean that in the best way. Not she does she show wants to learn the basics, but as a kid, right, her mind is just full of tactics. She is a front row student.
Yeah.
Whenever we have class, she knows the answers, she knows the tactics, she knows what to
She's
do.
also waiting for her
Um,
moment.
Yeah.
She's very
she's
she's
also
patient.
she's very patient.
Who?
It's very crazy, right? She still has the beginner stance. Like they both, David and Adelaide have like you know, the hand guard on
Yeah.
their crotch
Yep.
chest, right? Like, close to their body. But
Yep.
but the minds, right? Look at this chess. No one is attacking. Nobody's moving.
Yeah.
This is
They
chess,
they
right?
do, I believe, uh, uh, I don't think it's Dennis. I think it's the other judge. Um,
Request a
he
little
basically says
activity.
he's like, you should you guys gotta get engaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time's taking away. You get
Yeah.
engaged, please.
In fencing, that is a card, a yellow card, I believe,
It
if
is
I'm
in
not
MMA. Well, not a card, but it is a referee
a
can
warning.
call you for that in MMA as well.
Yeah, and but in my unprofessional opinion, it's a battle of the minds. It's chess.
Yeah.
It's chess in another dimension.
I think it
You
is
know,
up to the
let
referees
them
and
do that.
judges. Like if Dennis doesn't have a problem with it, but one of the judges does say something, I don't think either person should feel that the other did something wrong. You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, I
So
think
here
it's
we go. We got
Andre.
some actions, and
Yeah.
David is now. I think David's a David's patience has
Uh
ran out, and he's just trying to aggress Adelaide, but it's not
huh.
working. She's
How old
42
is
in this
Adelaide?
moment, and she's
About?
counterattacking. I think she's about 14,
Yeah, that's what I was
15. I
gonna
don't
guess.
really
14,
remember.
15, maybe
I don't really
16.
ask.
Yeah.
She's yeah, maybe 16, very young. Adelaide is a sniper,
Mm-hmm.
counterattacker, but she can also be aggressive too. Like the point that gets her the winning touch. She just saw the point and get to it.
Oh, I like the
Wow,
picture at
30
the end
minutes
there.
has gone by real quick.
So now we're getting right into the next video as soon as the thanks for watching passes by. Closing thoughts real quick on the pools, guys.
Yes. The pools was ran great, was ran smooth. I thought it was a fair
Looked
organization
very
of
smooth. No
everybody.
debating
Yeah.
points as they happened. Ugh.
No, and I think the seating was perfect. Like like I guess Molly was put in the ringer, but I mean
She likes
she
that. She
she took
liked
it
it
real
though.
well.
So we haven't hit
She liked it.
pause.
She
This is
clearly did.
about.
And
So I'm sorry. We're about 15 seconds in. You can finish your thought. This is
yeah.
Ian versus Joe, the first round here.
Yes.
Keep saying whatever you
No,
want
that's
to
it.
say.
Pools was great.
Yep.
Okay, so now I promise I'll talk tactics. So
Well, this
now that
matters
we
now,
have
right?
introduction
This
out of
is
the
the
way,
real
we have Ian versus
competition.
Joe. This is the real competition. Okay,
Ooh.
introductions are over. Here's what we're doing. So now we have Joe trying to dig his way around. He's counterattacking. Notice how he's keeping his tip online while retreating, right? He wants to snag the incoming points. Ian is switching from two hand to one hand, and I think he's aggressing with a lot more precision. But what's losing him points, or what what's getting the interactions stumped is that he's coming in with a parry, and Joe is
Yes.
counterattacking
Uh-huh.
into it.
Mm-hmm.
So so right there, Ian sort of comes in with that with the parry, and then finally hits the repost into Joe. And the reason why this is working is because he's sort of like he's sort of knowing that Joe wants to hit when he's going in. So by just closing off the wall, Joe's intuition is just to throw the strike, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just gonna hit a parry. Or Ian is already in the motion of blocking that attack because he knows that's what Joe wants to do.
Right.
Gets the repose. Joe was fast on that last interaction because he caught Ian within the tempo of the prep. So Joe got that point very, very well. And what I
Side
mean by
note,
in the
Joe is
prep
also
was
stacked
Ian.
like a brick
Yeah.
shithouse. Holy crap. Yep.
Dude, he sometimes he's doing push-ups with his feet in the air.
Dude.
Uh, Look, he works out. I don't know when he doesn't work out.
His
I'll be honest
muscles
with
have
you.
muscles on their muscles, man.
He does. No, legit. He comes into practice with healthy versions of snacks,
The
and
reason
he's
I
just
bring
like,
this
what?
up too is he's surprisingly loose and relaxed for a guy who's got the potential for all that tension in his shoulders and spine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of heavily muscled dudes are very tense in the shoulders and spine. Longsword is a commonly like a good weapon, spears and things for those people because of that
hmm
reason. You know, axes and maces, not necessarily rapier, right?
yeah.
So he's very very graceful and
He's got
chill.
movement. He's got movement.
Yeah, I
So
like it.
that was a difference in line there, right? So they both attacked at the same time. Oh no,
Mm-hmm.
no. So Ian initiated an attack, Joe with a counter attack. But um, the problem was there. Uh, I was gonna say Ian went down, right? And in the principle, you could read this up in Meyer's handbook, but this is the principle of fighting. Unfortunately, when Ian went for the low strike, he led with the shoulder and led with the torso, and that inevitably pushes his head down.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of dropping his level, he put more of his body into Joe's range. So Joe's counterattack that was leveled with the floor took the point because essentially Ian handed him his head, right? So a lesson to all people who wanted to strike low, instead of leaning with the shoulder and leaning in to get low, drop your torso by either lunging farther or putting your leg back. Don't tip your shoulder too hard and don't tip your head, don't tip your torso too hard. You can do it. It's like don't not do it, but understand the consequences of reaching low. You are giving up your head. It is the
Mm-hmm.
trade-off for reaching low. There are ways to mitigate that, like I said, by dropping your torso downwards, right? Like literally widening your stance and dropping downwards. You give up some range, but you don't also just hand your head. So that's was an important takeaway from that last exchange and why Joe got the point um, right then and there. This is Dallas versus Paula. Dallas is also someone who's trained with us for a while but hasn't actually competed. He is a phenomenal Muay Thai boxer, kickboxer. I trained with him outside of Sabers and I'm sweating every single time because he's fast hands, man.
Yeah,
If there was no saber in his hands, he'd probably beat the shit out of me if I had a saber. It's crazy. So, anyway,
you can tell how
back to
not
tactics
afraid
right here.
Paula is,
Dallas was a
though.
former fencer.
She is not afraid of anything.
No, that's the crazy part. She does not
She's
give a shit.
retreating, but
Dallas was a
striking,
former
like
fencer.
reaching out and striking as she retreats, which is a tactic that I like to employ because of my unadvanced height. I like to really reach out when I
Yeah, the
strike
compensation.
as I'm retreating with my feet. I reach
Yeah.
my arms out, and you could man, she got a good handle on that. So 5-2, like you could tell Dallas is no
Yes.
slouch, and she just kind of spanked him 5-2. So
No. Right. Dallas is a former fencer. Like his strength is timing and the precision, but the thing with Paolo was um Uh, I've taught her to just sometimes not hesitate when seeing
mhm.
that opening, and Dallas being a beginner doesn't have sort of a feel for his range yet.
Mm,
Like his sort of like his measure. His mind is in the right space tactically,
yeah.
but he's unfamiliar with a sword in his hand. So every time he walked into range, Paula just knew to just hit,
Yeah.
to just go and hit. And even when she stepped back, it wasn't a retreat, right? She just pivoted backwards.
Yes.
And in the fighting world, that's not giving up ground,
Right.
right? She didn't give up space. She just shifted her guard.
Right.
So she kept staying in Dallas's measure the whole time, in a sense. So that was awesome.
We have
We have
David
David
and
versus
Jonathan
Jonathan.
now.
As you've mentioned, being, David being from Phoenix. Jonathan opened up with just a lunge to his head from halfway across the court, a three-pointer.
Yeah.
Well, not 3 points in Sabers, but like basketball.
Yeah.
So here we go. So Jonathan is being reserved. He's doing a lot of very basic German longsword. It's clearly a Meyer style. Lots of large, pronounced cuts. Okay, that's the key here. Jonathan is having very, very pronounced structured cuts. And the reason why that's important is because even this is a little bit of the metagaming here. Even if David had like that exchange, let's just say let's just say that David had grazed Jonathan's thumb first, right, by like a millisecond.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to judge and read that because visually I see David scratching Jonathan's thumb and Jonathan lobbing your head off,
Yeah.
right? Controlled, right?
Right.
So from a judge perspective, right, the amount of structure in his movements, it makes it very difficult to judge like the subtle points because Jonathan's coming in with just loud, pronounced, proud, very knightly movements, you know? It's very like I'm cutting you, right?
Well, and
And
for targets of higher value, head and
And for
torso.
right, exactly. Very deep. We call those deep targets. He's
Mm-hmm.
going for torso. He's going for head. And so, I mean, David is earning his points, right?
For
And
sure.
they're all earning their points. I'm not saying any of them is being slouched today, but like right then and there, right? But the benefit of Jonathan having structure is that we see it, and we're not gonna question what happens,
Mm-hmm.
even if David is like slipping in a couple scratches now and there,
Yeah.
right? We just know. We just know Jonathan cut his head and it was clean and it was good and he gets the point.
Now,
So
as a
that's sort of
competitor, you could argue like, well, you should be a good enough judge to like see all those little
you're
things in
correct.
between. Yes, you should, but also it helps both
It
of
helps.
us as the judge and the competitor if we both know that your motion was clear, right?
Exactly. And
It just helps
that
everybody.
I've been saying this for years and nobody gets it, is you have to fight convincingly. You
Convince.
have to
That's the
be
word. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like many people gave me shit for this and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Well, I
If
think that's why a lot of people have moved into the light fencing or the right of way arming style of saber fighting is because you can tell.
right,
You can tell what's
because
happening.
you can tell,
Yeah.
right? The subtleties, you can play the subtleties. I mean, look, I'm a fencer too. I can play the
Yeah.
subtleties if I want to.
Well,
I
and as
don't
a
come over
martial
to fight
artist,
because
I
I'm real.
appreciate the subtleties a lot more. I like to see that. But if you're trying to get an audience, you have to
Exactly.
balance that. And if you're trying to win, you want the judges on your side. The judge is going to be on your side if they can tell what the hell you're doing.
If you're gonna lunge and hand snipe, do it clearly, do it
Yeah.
audibly. Like
Yes,
make everybody
exactly.
see that you did
Yes,
that.
yes.
Don't be upset that like your intention was off and your structure was
Mm-hmm.
off and your posture was
Right.
wonky and you like half-assed a slide to the thumb. Okay, yeah, sure,
Well, there you
you
go.
touched the guy
She
first,
had
but the
a hand
guy,
snipe there. It was a very
right, like
subtle motion. She nicked your thumb, but they saw it
correct.
because it was a pronounced cut. I mean, it doesn't take much. You don't have to chamber it over your
And it
head
was a pronounced
necessarily.
cut.
You could just tell.
No, you don't gotta do that. You can just tell. And that's a takeaway with Jonathan in that last fight. And also Adelaide and me, right? Like
Yes.
you can hand snipe all you want. I don't think that's a bad tactic.
Mm-mm.
It's just don't like you gotta really have intention when you fight and be convincing because it's like I don't know. It's a game. There's judges. It's not a street fight. If
So
this
they
was a
gave you
street
no
fight,
point
this
for
would
that
be
last exchange, though,
completely
huh?
different conversation.
No point to
No,
either.
which I don't think I got her at all. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, she's definitely
Yeah,
fast.
Props.
yeah. Props to Andre
Yeah,
for
for
doing this.
catching it.
Yeah.
He is catching a lot of the simuls. I think Andre
Mhm.
judged this. I think he judged it correctly
Mhm.
because there was a lot of simuls. Um, and there was a yeah, a lot of simuls and a
You're
lot of
mentioning
heavyweight
Andre. I'm
turns
guessing he's off
and
camera. I don't have the audio turned on, so I can't hear if he's saying something.
sorry, Andres, my
Andreas.
Oh,
apologies.
Yeah,
Andres.
Andreas.
Oh,
Andres.
oh,
Andres
that's who
is
that
the
is under that
yeah,
hat.
he's the head judge in the back. So
Oh, I
my
like Andres
apologies.
quite a lot.
Sorry,
Nice
Andres.
guy. Nice guy.
Yes, sweet guy, sweet guy. He
Okay.
brought the best dip to the party.
He's got a great
He
shadow
was
under that hat right now. It's making him look like a real 1960s detective, a gritty ass dude.
he's as German as he is. I love it.
I like
he also
Andres.
had,
Hmm.
he also told told me about his thing, his what's it called? His saber got busted. So
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say he's a good fighter. I don't know why he's not fighting.
Hmm. So Adelaide got that, and she got that fair and square.
Dude, she's
That was
giving you a
fine.
yeah,
scrap,
exactly.
man.
She really earned that one. It gave her a good scrap. Gave her a
Yeah,
good
nice
scrap. I
job.
wish one of the things one of the things she was doing was just hand sniping at the perfect timing. Um, a lot of my
Sometimes,
she was catching me like mid movement,
yep.
mid like intervals,
And you're
and
taller than her as
that's all you
well.
need to do.
Like, not that that's everything. You're using the short blade again, but it's it's
Yeah.
it's sometimes I feel cheap if I'm just going for hand shots. But here's the other thing: if you're in a competition, you also have to do what's winning, right?
Yeah,
You have to
it's a
have to
valid
do
thing.
what's working, and
It's valid.
if that's you don't have to impress anybody necessarily. Sometimes the rule set makes it so that you might want to do some flashier things or whatever, or go for the higher value targets, but sometimes you just need to get there first and convincingly with good martial technique or whatever. But sometimes if you score 5 hand shots, you score 5 hand shots. If they didn't hit you first, that's the end of it.
Hmm.
Obi-Wan made a career out
Right.
of cutting off
We
people's
have Molly
limbs.
versus Sloane. Oh, sorry. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's a valid strat. Don't knock it. It's not the best move. Like you could easily counter that, but you know. It's valid. It's valid. I don't want to hear crap about people saying it's cheap. Get good. Learn how to defend
There
it.
you go. Get good.
Learn how to defend it.
That's a good old San Diego
So Molly
Sabres
versus Sloan,
saying there.
it's a classic saying. So Sloan is having fun with Molly. He's doing left-handed single hand. Two things he just doesn't do.
I've never
So
seen
this is
Sloan fight
completely
single-handed. Not even once.
I've never yeah, and now you're seeing him do it left-handed also.
I know. It's
So
wild.
um he's having fun. And again, I want to say that, he's just coming in and he's swinging at Molly, but she is blocking a lot of these strikes. He is fighting with a full saber, and he is like a 6'4" tall
Yeah.
man.
Sloan is a
So
tank of a human being.
right, so Molly is at the disadvantage, and not just sabers, but just all around.
Mm-hmm.
But let's pick out some really important tactical note here. She's advancing with a parry. She's digging in with a defense. She's closing in a line.
She's hitting
Even
all the
if
numbers on the clock too.
Right. Even if Sloan is trying to draw her guard, because you can see him trying to feint with a lot of these like fake strikes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sure, he got the hand hit there just now, but he's trying to draw her guard and trying to get her to walk into that bear pit. But even if she did, she's walking in closing lines. And
Yes.
it's a lot better than most beginners who just sort of run into a blade and get stabbed in the face, right? She is
Yeah.
coming in with defense in mind. We could talk about tempo and we could talk about like spacing all we want, but she's a beginner and that's something that probably didn't cross her mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so the biggest principle that we're seeing is fearlessness, getting in there, closing a line, being defensive, not falling for tricks,
Mm-hmm.
and just being sturdy, and that's amazing. Um, and also as a side comment, while this next fight begins, um, actually I'll touch on it later. Matt versus Jaime is is a quiet but then a new is a rivalry in the corner. This is the next generation's. This is the next generation. Me and Loring, dude. This is the next generation
Yeah.
of lovers to friends to fighters. Like this is crazy. So even the saber colors, like the blue and the red,
Mhm.
it's poetic.
Yeah.
So Matt Jensen here, we didn't get to see either of these two because they were in the other pools. Um, but Matt's being trained by the head judge Andreas, so There's that. And Jaime's being trained by Dennis. Jaime is an extremely aggressive fighter. He swings with power and passion. Matt is as
Ooh.
calculated as can be. He has strength. Matt is ripped. If he takes off his shirt, it is like 12 pack under that, right? But he is embodying the Obi-Wan mentality, and he is being as graceful and as calculated as he can be. A lot of GMSO coming from Andreas,
Uh-huh.
but let's talk tactics right now. So Jaime is Jaime is very fast and he's explosive. Matt's taking a lot of time to sort of think about his moves and where to go. He's digging in, but Jaime has just like that. Jaime just has just the speed, the power, and just sort of like the explosiveness that Matt just can't take a hold of.
Well, in
I
the
think
stance
the
too.
problem
Look
too
at the
is
difference in the stance. Jaime's stance is very, for lack of a better word, erect, and like
he's upright.
yes, and his knees are almost straight. They're not quite, which is smart for him. Like a slight bend is good, but
Right.
it's not like Matt's stance, which is like almost your classic fighting stance. Neither one is better or worse,
Right.
but it suits their fighting styles or almost dictates their fighting style a little bit more.
If I were to give a friendly, loving critique to Matt and sort of what he's been learning, I think Andreas is giving him a very advanced subject of fighting,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I'll touch on later. But I think Matt needs to practice more of the context to it. Jaime won by doing fundamentals. He
Mm-hmm.
held his ground and attacked whenever Matt walked into range and just didn't hit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what Matt was trying to do to approach was walk offline, walk laterally, but he didn't really know like what the proper measure was with each footstep, and so there was a lot of missing pieces to the game plan, in my opinion. But I
Right.
think Matt has the upper hand in tactics. I think he just needs to practice like a lot more situations and a lot more context to his movements.
So we have
My
Adam and
opinion. I
Alan
think that's
now.
why Jaime got the win there.
Yes.
Yes, we have Adam and Alan now. Adam is doing his tried and true one-handed Makashi. Alan is also doing his tried and true one-handed Makashi. Very, very precise movement here.
This is what Alan does
Adam
when
is trying
Alan
to come
actually
in with
does want to
compound
win.
attacks.
You like I can tell the
Right,
difference
right,
now
right.
when Alan wants to win and when he's playing. So Alan,
Yes, yes, yes.
what caused the shift other than the fact that you knew you were in a real match?
So I was just trying stuff, and I figured that Adam, being one of Matt's Padawan, would fence
That's
me,
right.
so I decided to fence him.
You responded in kind.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's basically all it was. I just started to fence and started to use a little bit more saber, like fencing saber,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
cavalry saber
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So, um, and as the day progresses, I switch constantly. And Adam, I mean, he puts up a hell of a fight. So I was like,
Yeah.
Right.
well,
Right.
maybe I turn it up just a tiny bit.
Well,
And
you
we
can just
talked
tell like
after that
you
fight,
don't
and
take as many risks with these types of
right.
matches. You know, if you were
Well,
against
I also knew that Adam is aggressive. He's an
yes,
aggressive
yes, he
fighter.
is.
So
Yes.
I let him come to me instead of
And
letting
Adam's
anyone else
another
come to me.
person who's deceivingly strong, just physically strong. Like he's not necessarily trying to hit you hard or whatever, but like
Correct.
when you're
Correct.
sparring with
He is
him,
a
you can
strong
feel he's got
person.
power in his body.
Mhm.
Yes. Before the next fight goes on, I want to say Adam was having a lot of compounded movements that Adam was having a lot of compounded movements trying to draw guards that Alan didn't really fall for that bullshit and just sort of just stabbed them in the face, right? Something to
Uh,
watch out for beginners, right? Like there's a time and place for drawing guards and
yeah,
and watching your measure and spacing.
yeah,
But the score was 4-5. He did a good job, right?
Yeah,
It
he
was
did.
down to
He
the
did great.
wire.
yeah.
That was not a knock on him. Adam did great.
Yeah,
Adam did
he
a
was
great
awesome.
job. So now we have Jonathan and Jaime. So now Jaime, here we go. Right now he's moving a lot more. He's trying to step offline. He's trying to get measures. Um, but again, Jonathan is not having it, right? Like
Yeah, they threw that out.
they threw that out. That there was no actual exchange there. That was on me too. I called a point. I thought
So
I thought he hit the head there too. Again,
Jonathan's
The judges
Gemso
disagreed, so
is a lot different than his usual like Ataru Nimon style that I was used to
yes,
of a
yeah.
couple years ago. But also, it
You
kind
need
of
a new
looks like
man.
Robert's like Makashi style and Doug's Makashi style. If their Makashi
I
was
don't
Form 5, that's kind of what it looks like to me.
text. You mean textbook? Yeah, I think you're thinking textbook. Because when Robert and Doug fought, they were like as pure of it is as
Well,
possible.
that's
You know what I
but
mean?
look at like the guard position, right? And look at the way he advances his stance, but doesn't like he's just out of range of your actual tip. Like that's Robert right there.
Mm,
Um, from
right. It's good sense of measure.
yeah, oh my god, but that like the guard, it's hanging out down low, almost a fool's guard, and
No, no, it is a false guard. It is 100% Albert, without
but
a doubt.
the way that they counter and actually switch angles and attack from that fool's guard is so fast.
Right.
Um, that's unique to very few people. Like especially like it's characteristic of the style, but not everybody can actually do it. You know,
Hmm.
this is a very fun fight.
So if we want to talk about guards too, it's a very good fight. If you want to talk about guards too, right? So Jonathan's doing this thing. Watch carefully, right? So first of all, he sometimes walks in with that fool's guard,
Mm-hmm.
but the closer he gets, it's gonna shift to either be
Yes.
a fluke or a long point or a tog, depending on
Mm-hmm.
like what he wants to do. See, so he's walking in with fools, but there you go, right? See, now it's held to the chest,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then it's a different game plan, and it's so subtle and it's so dangerous because he changes it just a hair out of measure. So you're seeing him approach with his blade down, and you're like, okay, he's an idiot,
Yeah.
right? And then like just right when he gets to that sweet spot, he picks a guard. Is it gonna
Yes.
be long point? Is it gonna be tog? I don't know, right? And then he's gonna pick it, and then he's gonna work off that guard.
It's not even really a feint
And I think
or a
that's something
fake.
to tie.
It's just timing.
No, it's just picking. It's just timing. He's just picking the technique. It's a little bit of I mean, in HEMA when we do that, it's because we're tired and we just don't want to walk into the guard. But I could see how in a mental sense it works because like, you know, you don't know what I'm gonna throw at you.
Yeah.
I'm walking up to you with no guard and then I pick one.
Well,
He's
you
gonna
mentioned being
play.
tired. That's a heavy ass sword compared to the lightest of swords, in at least in theory. Um, so
Actually,
the must.
on contraire,
Oh.
long swords are are a lot lighter. They are actually
They're
way
lighter
lighter, believe it or not.
than most people would think, but I definitely heavier than the average lightsaber, I would say. But I don't know. Maybe you
You know
disagree.
what? Maybe an average I'd say you're right. You're right. You're right. No,
Um,
you're it, maybe we fight with bricks at our club, but you're
well, the heavy
there
grade
have been
blade does increase things quite a bit, the batteries and all that stuff. But
true
at least in theory, and depending on the person, maybe in
in
practice.
theory.
But what I'm saying is, you guys practicing with long swords, steel long swords, in theory, again, it does condition your muscles to move the lightsaber at a much faster rate. So if you can get that type of
Yeah,
trickery in with a real long sword against another person with a long sword, you can probably get
yeah,
it in with a lightsaber.
yeah. That's true. The point of balances is wildly different, right?
Correct.
Because
That is
you have
correct.
like a a long steel object versus like where
Yes.
it's only metal for like an eighth of the thing, and then the rest plastic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They might weigh the same, but the point of balance is, I think that's what you're getting at, where it because I have to lug that around, it makes it
Yes.
a lot different.
It's
Yeah,
distributed down the
and
entire piece
and
of
you're right,
steel
it is.
versus most of it being in your hands.
Right, 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 right. So yeah.
Anyway,
Anywho,
that's
so
my little nerdy theory.
yeah,
I don't even know if it's true, but so we've got Alan and Adelaide here too. And
well,
Alan, had you fought her much up to this point?
Ellen,
Nope, first time.
Okay.
this is an interesting fight too because Adelaide again, something about our beginners and their fearlessness is just respectable. You know, I don't think we have any beginners at the moment that are, well, anymore that just like run away.
Yep.
Well, you guys
Yeah,
spar on a regular
she's on it.
basis. They're conditioning
Yeah.
themselves to receive, aggression
Yes.
and give it back. Little little chess match to finish up here.
Yes, yes, yes. There you go. taking it from Adelaide. It was 5-4. It's pretty good.
Yeah, she
Pretty
did
good.
awesome.
Oh
Mainly,
man.
a lot of that is, she saw opportunity that, when I gave her an invitation, she took it,
Yeah.
as soon as it happened. And as, a beginner, sometimes that's important. You do have to get aggressive eventually.
Yes.
And I tell my students that all the time. You have to actually, you know, to get the point, you have to hit the person,
Right.
not the sword.
There's a difference, but there's also a
So now we
balance
have
between being aggressive and attacking nonstop.
Correct.
right. Now we have Sloan versus Paula.
I'm very interested in
Paula's
this fight, by the
coming
way.
in.
Very extremely interested.
Yes, this one's interesting. Look at her. Look at her walk
Uh
forward.
huh.
Like Sloan is a seasoned fighter, and she's just gonna walk forward into measure, not
She's
care.
just practicing
Two
her
points.
ballet foot position with like a lot of space between her feet, and that's like
Uh,
she's so confident in her footwork.
yes, absolutely.
So is Sloan.
So what's
His
was
footwork's just
allowing
different.
Paula to get so is Sloan. What's allowing Paula to get those 2 points right off the bat with ease, might I say, was was I think just it was just timing of
Mm-hmm.
walking into Sloane's range
Mm-hmm.
and then just like getting it, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
no hesitation the moment she walked into measure. And even if Sloane tried to parry or block, she would just still continue with like redoubles and hit and hit and hit. To try to like dig out those hand hits there too. Sloane though has a lot of fun tricks. That point a while ago where he just sort of replaced. Um, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you watch
Let's
Paula,
see what
even
else
when
we
she
have here.
steps back, she goes into a guard, which is
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yes,
Which
she
got at
she
that
stepped.
point.
Like I said earlier, she doesn't retreat. She just steps back with the guard, and it doesn't actually give up ground or range.
Well, think about
Um,
like again, we're talking dance here. You
yeah,
move your feet in one position. I took many ballet classes, not as many as her, but like you don't move your feet without moving your hands, and if you're not moving your hands, like your chest and your everything's engaged, in other words. So like
yes,
she's used to every single motion having multiple layers and multiple purposes, and engaging all of those things at once. um
right.
Difference though with Sloan, like he's got more of like a jock's physicality where
Yeah, he's a tennis player. He's a tennis player.
exactly it's like snap focus and then back to
Yes,
relaxed and then snap and then back to relaxed, and
right.
it's just it's such an interesting match to me.
It's such an interesting match, and you know what? What I think what got Paula that far. First of all, the score, whoever's not watching, is 5-4.
Yeah.
It was
Tight,
tied, right? It was
tight, tight,
it was
tight, tight.
tight. Very tight. And I think the reason why she got that far was the fact that she doesn't actually like give up ground by moving her body like that threw off Sloane. Um, because I guess he just couldn't get a hold on her range,
Well, he
right?
is used to almost bodying people, right? And
Right. And it's so like what happens when somebody steps back
yeah,
and you're used to them running away, but not actually, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's a lot of exchanges where she would step back and he would push forward and he would think that he's chasing her down, but in reality he's walking into her web, right?
Yes.
So it's an interesting thing. And so
This should be
Yeah.
another interesting
so
match,
now we
Jonathan and
have
Joe.
yes, this is definitely an interesting match. We have Joe, us Jonathan versus Joe. Um that was a beautiful opening, a parry riposte. This is all it was. Very textbook.
A little extra
Jonathan walks in.
a little extra motion there from Jonathan compared to what we've seen so far tonight.
Right, right, right.
That's kind of the old Jonathan a little bit. Oh, oh.
He is, yeah, I was about to say that is the old Jonathan. He pulls it out just a little bit.
Peekaboo. Yeah.
So to those not watching the old Jonathan, right? So what he's doing is he's he would let go with his right hand and sort of do a couple of posting motions uh by holding the saber at the very end. which extends your range by a lot. Actually, the maximum you can hold your blade.
Right.
And he would do that. He would spring the attack outside of measure because you would think he's out of range. But because of that, right? Because he's letting go and extending, you see a lot in TSL where they like
Yes.
switch to their offhand and hit with the range. It tricks a lot of people because you would not expect them to be able to cover so much ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jonathan would do that in between a lot of attacks because then you sort of feel like you have a sense of his range, you have a sense of his measure, and then boom, he lets go and he actually doubles the reach,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sloan does that too a lot more, but that was the old Jonathan's way of fighting. And here we have 4-1, Jonathan with a parry riposte. So what he did against Joe
Oh,
was simply just like walking in with the parry and hitting him with a riposte. Joe would hold out the saber, trying to counterattack my far.
I
Um,
didn't expect him to lose 4-1 there. Or
yeah,
5-1
so
there.
so so Joe's method, what he was trying to do to Jonathan was sort of keep the point out on line and then dig in way and threaten him with the point. But what he didn't account for was Jonathan would accept the point with a parry, like would
Yeah.
beat the blade as he was closing the gap. And there was not enough time for Joe to sort of like either disengage or respond to that, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
he's like
Gemso right out of the Jedi manual.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's 5-1. Like easy as that.
Yeah.
Easy as that. So now we have Alan versus Joe. And Alan right away just goes in for a counter attack, right? Joe tried to be aggressive with a lunge and Alan just takes him in the hand.
That's a beautiful nick
Um,
too. That's like one of
it
those
was.
that's Dooku precision right there.
It goes back to being convincing, right? Like you can hand shot all you want. Just
And you can be
let us
quick
know.
and subtle, but
Yeah.
subtle and obvious can be the same thing. I know
Correct.
it doesn't sound like they can. I know that, people, but this is martial arts where the rules don't necessarily apply.
Right.
Anything can happen at any time, and if you have structure and technique, a lot of times it can weigh things in your favor.
Right, right, right.
A
And
side note, Sloan and I actually had a fight before this. This
mm,
is for the bronze, but Sloan
oh
and I
yeah.
actually had a fight before this, and I don't know what happened to the video.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, sorry.
Well, credit to Joe for that point there, because you put a little pressure on him, and he managed to sneak a point in just like you did
Oh yeah.
before.
So Joe
Mhm.
swallowed the blade and was able to get the hand
Mhm.
hit on the
Yes,
retreat. That
very
was really
sneaky
good.
shot, very good.
Very sneaky
Yeah.
shot. Yeah.
And kudos to the judges, man. They are catching everything.
Mhm.
They are catching
Yeah,
everything.
Boom. Hit.
Dennis and Andreas did good, and this is me just going back to Polish Saber,
Yeah.
just going in with a
Yeah.
with like a wider swing than you probably used to me fighting.
Mm-hmm. And so
Dennis,
one thing too.
sorry, I was just gonna say Dennis is one of those people. He, not a whole lot of people have judged more saber fights than Dennis.
Right. Right.
I mean, thousands.
Probably at this point,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
He watches. He watches. So that fight, right? So Joe barely blocked. I don't think Joe. Yeah, I don't think he blocked
Just the one point that we mentioned. I mean,
not all that.
that was the only one
Yeah,
that
just
I
the one
saw
point
him
that he
really
mentioned,
block.
and it was a swallow.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is, like, Allen is a considerably longer opponent versus, Joe. So the counter attacks was just devastating,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just tough to fight that range. There needed to be sort of an engaging defense or something. But now this is finals.
Mhm.
We push the points higher than to 5 or 10.
I always liked that about your tournaments because it just
Sorry,
keeps things moving.
I just found the video. It just didn't make it to the playlist.
That's okay. We can always
Oh,
add it later.
we'll watch it. We'll watch it after the
And
match.
if you're listening to this podcast, and that video secretly makes it to the playlist later, just watch it and enjoy. Don't worry about it.
There you go.
All good.
Pause. Take a break from our voice.
3 bonus minutes, right? Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Yep.
Sloan and Jonathan. Yeah, this is man.
This is
A
a
more
nice fight.
competitive spirit does not exist between two people. I don't think.
Look at this fight. This is crazy,
I like Sloane's little tactics on that exchange. I've never seen him use techniques like that.
right? Boom.
He's Dennis's Padawan, correct?
No, John Freeman's.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Ooh,
So I mentioned earlier
Just
about
just in
touching all
range.
the numbers on the
just in
clock.
range.
What I mean by that is like the footwork. Like if you go to 12 o'clock, you're going forward. You go to 6, you go backward. 9, 12, so
Right.
forth, so on. Um, like Sloan is a 6 to 12 fighter largely.
Oh,
Once in a
100%.
while, 7 to 1 or 8 or
Yeah.
5 to 11. But Jonathan is employing a little bit more of that style these days, but you can tell he's also got a little bit more of that lateral. But Sloan is using more than I'm used to seeing from him. But I think in the earlier matches against like the both of the ladies, Adelaide and Molly, that's kind of what maybe was throwing Sloan off a little bit. One of the points that they did get is that
Yeah.
their unwillingness to let him play the 6 to 12 game. And that 6 to 12 game is not a bad thing. A lot of sword fighting styles, fencing, we mentioned kendo earlier. That's a lot of it.
Hmm.
Subtle side to side motion as opposed to like Arnis or like a Dow where you'd be using a lot of broader
Hmm.
footwork and things.
Right now, as at the current
Oh, there you
point,
go from Sloan.
right, right.
Oh, by the way, this is
This is
going to
going to
10.
10.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sloan is leading at this moment of the video. Jonathan is catching up very quickly though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I think the adjustment was crazy. So they started the fight. They started the game fighting their typical fight, right? So Sloan swinging, Jonathan swinging, right? Here's the subtle differences though. So Sloan is still aiming for the hands. He's still trying to go for the hand shots. Um, Jonathan also same way for the hand shots too. I think Sloan is trying to like keep him at bay. So Jonathan is like having to give up going for the deeper targets. But like right then and there, for Jonathan, but Jonathan is still willing to dig deep if he gets the nicer parry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um, there you're gonna see a really big adjustment in a minute here between the two, and this is where the whole talk about convincingness comes into play. These both are fighting with really convincing martial intensity here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Sloan is trying to outrange him as much as he can.
Oh my gosh.
Sloan's very first parry post of the
Oh
whole day.
gosh.
Uh, yeah, it's crazy, right?
Razor thin
So,
margin here.
razor thin margin, but Jonathan is now coming in with the cuts to the hand, a lunge to the chest,
Oh gosh.
right?
And
It's
that's a
now tight
lunge cut
again.
too, not just a straight up stab, which is very
Yeah.
interesting. Oh man.
Oh my God. Sorry, I could commentate, but this fight is just nice.
Well, yeah.
Um, so again, Sloan is trying to keep him at bay, trying to off time a lot of his attacks with the tempo.
Sloan's
There was no
recovering
exchange
from
here.
over swinging, almost like he's expecting himself to overswing, or that
S-
he's doing it on purpose a little bit. Like,
Sloan plans up to third intention, which
yes,
means
yes, yes,
that
yes, yes,
he is not just going mindlessly swinging. Like he
yes.
has a three cut plus plan, right? Like
With parries in between. I mean, his
with
his
parries in
recoveries are
between.
very good.
Yes, yes, yes.
He has a lot of
Yeah.
linear footwork and cutting, but his recovery and parries are circular and whippy, and it's very cool.
So the tactic right now we're seeing here is just like he's trying to stop Jonathan's like guard switches.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of his points is coming in, and there's a he tried to go for a gimmicky low hit,
Yeah.
right? Boom, parry to the post.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff that they wrote manuals about.
That's right. But the judges, judges didn't see it.
I know, I
Hit
know.
to the hand, hit to the hand.
But then we get another exchange, right? So it's like, who
Yeah,
cares?
there you go. Yep, yep, yep.
Wow, what a great match. 10 to 9
Um,
for Jonathan. Just a great match.
it was fun. It was a fun fight.
Good
Sloan was
fighting all
definitely
around.
Sloan was definitely trying to have really weird timing into his things, trying to catch Jonathan mid guard switches, trying to
Mm-hmm.
use his range, trying
Mm-hmm.
to like stab from a distance, like a myriad of gimmicks, right? And I say gimmicks lovingly because there's a lot of like cutting to the leg from halfway across the
Mm-hmm.
court, right? So what ultimately worked for him at the end, or what ultimately had Jonathan climb back up was him hitting midway through. Okay, here we go. Exotics, we're having fun now.
Yeah,
So now we have
so
Jarkai on
these are
Jarkai.
Jarkai
yeah.
on
So
Jarkai.
the couple of fights I missed were Dennis's Saber staff versus Jarkai.
But
Um,
that was so fun.
yeah, I missed a video of that. But yeah, this is Trent going through.
Hmm.
hmm
Kamikaze Allen there.
I love that. And the fact that Trent was able to like lean forward. So Alan, what is your so you doing Jarkai? What sort of like implementations of styles do you use? Um,
So there's a couple of different styles that I'm using just in this fight. So here is a double double Dow or broadsword.
mhm,
Um, and then I switch over to basically a uh, here's double Gen or a double straight sword. And it could also be a spade daga. And this is me slipping on the grass and almost killing Trent. Um,
Uh,
yeah, because we are fighting on grass, so
it was
it is
moist.
a
It was
little
moist.
uh yeah, it was a little rough, and I had to apologize immediately because there. So here's a little bit more traditional kind of like Florentine um style as well. So there's usually a if you're doing like a double sword style in like Hema and stuff, and then I kind of switch over to just a tiny bit of a screamer there. So like I'm doing a lot of different things just to test it out, see what Brent responds to.
Hmm.
But then you can see like I go into this Nihon style, which is Wakasashi and Katana to
Yeah.
get that last hit. So this is me versus Matthew, and we're I believe I
Hmm.
stick to Eskrima in this as well.
So
Um,
the so me, right? And you're gonna see this. My left hand will always have the shorter saber by a large margin. I picked back up the like the 20-inch, blade,
mhm.
right? And it's strictly for Spotty Daga. I was trying to
Mhm.
do that through and through. Sometimes it pulled in a lot of
Nice.
like that Musashi just like right there. Like just
Yep.
like the like the waki and the katana, right? Sort of stance
Yeah.
that you see people in kendo, but ultimately I did pull in a lot of Spotty Daga.
I like
Um
that high block approach with the stab too.
so yes.
I don't know if I'm a few seconds behind or ahead of anybody, but
Uh, so I'm at a 37, 38, 339, 43, 41.
yeah, yeah, I'm like 5 seconds behind you. No big deal.
No problem, no problem.
Okay.
So, um, yeah, and so one of the things, from Spade Daga, it's just generally that I love to do and I te tell people, right, is like you want to attack and block at the same time, right?
hmm
This is a personal opinion. personal
hmm
personal style. Not a fan of people who dual wield and sort of like swing one saber at a time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a valid thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not saying it's not bad, it's not good, I'm not saying it's not good.
Right.
I love an attack and a block at the same time. Another thing too that Sparadaga teaches in a principle is that you have two ranges, right? So
Yes.
a lot of the first points I got off Alan was just me like, right, like I'm fighting with one saber. Why do I have to swing the second saber? You're not in
Yeah.
range of the second saber. Up until we start getting closer, I'll deploy
Yep.
the second saber. But
Right.
for now, it's just one saber, you know?
Right.
And even if I were to use both, like I said a while ago, it would be a combination of a block or a strike, or maybe if I am gonna do a double strike, I would like close the gap so my dagger is now more relevant than just like I don't know. A whole lot of stuff went through my brain um while I was like
Yeah.
sparring and stuff like that.
And here's
Um,
me channeling my inner Cervantes.
not with a gun,
Yeah,
right? With a pistol in the hilt.
yeah.
So
But just
sick.
overly big swings is basically what I was going for,
That's
and
fun.
trying to basically say I'm going here, and you know what? It worked.
It's fun.
You were like, okay, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna counterattack. Done, done. And I was like, perfect. This is how you should fight against that. So, and then I switched back to double broadsword here,
Yep.
and then
And
kind
then I
of
do the full
dance
Spidey
around.
Dago. There you
Yep, yep.
go. Now we're
And
full on.
and the quick,
Faced.
the
Yes.
quick.
Faced.
That
I
was, I
love it.
think, my favorite exchange, and I mean that
Yeah.
lovingly.
Oh yeah, no, that
That
was great. I loved it.
the in-range stab to the
Yep.
head.
And
Oh, but it was
we did
beautiful.
that like a couple hours beforehand too. So
Yeah,
really,
that's
I was
true.
like,
That's
oh
true.
no.
That
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, I gifted Matthew with a pair of
Oh
Espada
yeah,
Daga action
but
flex.
Oh,
foams.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very
it was
nice.
so
So
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
and they are
Those
oh,
action
this is
flex
me hitting
dagger
Adam in the
length
groin.
are so dope. They are so
They're
dope.
so cool,
Yeah.
and they're so fun.
Yeah, we
I
used to
love
do
practicing Spider
dagger
Dagger.
fights, and some once in a while we would do like smaller, like full size shields, but smaller full size shields with those, sort of like a almost like uh, a Greek soldier might have used within the phalanx
Yeah.
itself. You know, just that short range with a shield and a short stabbing sword. Man, I was so much fun. The teenagers loved that crap.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They just get to like mash each other with the shield and stab each other full of holes. It's great.
This is
Um,
me fighting Adam, uh, double saber again.
and Adam's
Um,
using two full length. Adam or Alan, are you also using
Yeah.
two full length?
yes, I basically broke my saber staff in half
Yeah.
and just went for it. So that um, it it's basically I'm used to using Espada Daga basically, and or like a double broadsword. But both of these are a little bit longer than what I'm used to. So like the balance is off, the
Mm-hmm.
weight is off
Mm-hmm.
from what I'm used to. They're also a different length than my single saber. So like a lot of stuff I have to adjust to on the fly.
Let me fly my nerd flag real quick. So a lot of times, in practicality sense, we practice Jarkai with one shorter saber.
Hmm.
That's not a rule, but
Hmm.
it's a common practice. Same with sword fighting, like a rapier and a dagger or spada daga. Um,
Hmm.
but if we're gonna split nerd hairs, the original Jarkai that came out of the Star Wars universe was based on the style of the Yavshin swordsman, which used two full length rapier style swords.
Hell
Um,
yeah. I've seen
so
that.
in real world terms, they would call that a case of rapiers, and that was something that was actually, I don't want to say common, but it was a practice among duelists to fight with a case of rapiers. Um,
Hmm.
Small swords, you might use two full length small swords, which are not small. Small swords are not necessarily small; they're just smaller than a rapier. Um, so
I
yeah,
know what.
it's very interesting. What'd you say?
No, at the end there was a weird jump scare.
Oh. It's just very interesting to see two full length sabers for Jarkai, even though that's kind of the original intention of the style. Like a lot of times we
Hmm.
we use the shorter saber because it does help to have like, especially in your offhand, which is probably not as intelligent as your strong hand. Like it helps to have
Yeah.
something with a little less weight to it.
So here's the semifinal. I added it
Oh yeah,
to,
I see it. I think yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you wanted to, um, you can edit this so that it makes sense. Um,
Oh, I
but
understand. So
yeah,
that match we were talking
this
about at
is
the
me
end,
versus
this is that match.
yeah,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
with you.
So this is me versus Sloan. This is the semifinal that we fought. Um, Here I'm fighting a little bit more rapier and saber. Here
Mm-hmm.
you could tell because I'm holding my hand next to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a little bit more punchy, punchy fighter, Jeet Kune Do style.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just basically keeping Sloan from going straight ahead like a freight train. I'm doing lateral stepping and moving, and to his credit, he's adjusted very well. Again, he's fighting his two-handed style, which is very very good. Still very fast, quick movements, keeping it in the box. Um, and I'm just kind of throwing back fists at him, seeing what
Yes.
he does,
Yes. Yes.
and it works. He's so much like every year that goes by and we fight, I'm always like, yes, yes, you are getting so much better
Mm-hmm.
than
Yes.
than last time.
It's
And
he grows, man. He's growing.
yeah, I mean, I sure would hope so. And then um a lot of times too, like especially in situations like this, like if I'm not aggressive enough, I'm just waiting for him to come in and do the upward shot like I
Yeah.
just did.
When I first met you guys, Sloan was spanking new in the group.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
now it's probably been 6 or 7 years um,
Hmm.
that he's been training, and you could just see the growth. If you go back to our old videos, and I think on our YouTube channel there's a playlist called like saved videos. I have some from our old YouTube channel where you can see like some of Sloan's very first
Hmm.
matches. Ian as well. Actually, I think we have Ian's
Yep.
first tournament on our YouTube channel. Um, and he's another one. He's been there like 4 or 5 years now, and just the growth has been crazy.
Yeah. So that was pretty fun. I have to say that was a really fun fight. I always like fighting Sloan.
Yeah.
Um, yep, and there you
Sloan
go.
may have been the first person I fought after Eric. Eric was definitely the first person I fought in San Diego. It's
Nice.
kind of a you know the the visiting instructor, so to speak. That's
Hmm.
not what I was, but when I go to another martial arts school, obviously you go up and you shake the instructor's hand first, and so to speak, whatever. So that was our way of shaking hands. Was we fought, but then the first person I fought after that, I believe, was Sloan. It might have been Robert, but it was one of those two. Um, so yeah, that was cool. So I'm watching a HEMA video now. I'm pretty sure that's the end of our playlist.
Yeah,
That's
there you
great.
go. It also
Um,
says a lot about your algorithm.
yes.
Got him.
It's a good fight. It's happened like looks like a week ago.
Yeah.
A couple of longsword guys. Anyway, um, yeah, that was like I said at the very beginning of this whole shindig. We knew that the quality was going to be there. But now anybody who's seen this for the first time, like, this is the bread and butter of what the Saber Martial Arts Foundation, as well as groups like San Diego Sabers, this is the bread and butter of what we base our notion of what Saber Martial Arts is. It's everybody's style is valid, and has a way to integrate into the lightsaber fight, but also, like Alan talking about, oh, I'm doing this, like the ability to just shift because the sword can take all the shapes it needs to in the moment. Like, that's just what makes the lightsaber, to me, like the ultimate martial arts fun. You really can't get a better way to dump out your own personal toy box than the lightsaber, as a martial artist.
Hmm.
So, and if you never fought, like, let's say you're somebody who's done non-weapons based martial arts, be it grappling or striking or high school wrestling, which is in a sense grappling, but wrestling and grappling really are distinct. If you have done anything like that, or even just like hockey or a really physical sport without a weapon, it's not that hard to use the lightsaber as your introduction to the rest of it.
Yeah.
And we
It's a
say
gateway
that too
drug.
much almost, but I don't know. I don't really think you can say that too much, because that's how we get people involved in lightsaber fighting. That's also how other martial arts get people involved in their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a, at the end of the day, right? Like us three here, we just want to promote like martial arts, period.
Correct.
Just full stop. And seeing and having these events like SDS and having these videos of talking about everyone and even just reminiscing about the growth of it is just
Mm-hmm.
it's just a lovely way to just sort of keep not just the hobby alive, but just introduce a bigger world and combine all the aspects of what we love in just a very fun way. And we say it time and time again, and it's probably said thousands of times at this point on the podcast, but just Sabers can be your starting point or even your ending point, or even just the middle of your martial arts journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just a fun place, and we see people of different skill levels come through. And it's just a great time. And when you mentioned it was the bread and butter of SDS and SPAF as a whole, it truly is, right? It
Mm-hmm.
it truly is just the combination of knowledge and people coming
Yeah.
together, and that's what we love. That's what we
That
love.
that fusion, man. It's all about that
Yep,
fusion.
absolutely.
Really quick, shout out to Valley's Heart Hema.
Yeah,
This video is called Longsword Fight Night VH HEMA 9/20/24.
bless you.
These guys are good. Uh,
I believe you.
they're good fighters. So if anybody's curious as to what Phone is watching while Matthew and everybody are talking, I promise I'm listening. The volume is muted, but these guys are good. No, I mean, look, I really appreciate you coming on and giving your 92 cents, and I say that with my tongue in my cheek, but it's everybody's heard. You know, Alan. Just the other day, I looked, and we're fast approaching that 2,000 listenership, which for a
Oh
lot of
my
podcasts
goodness.
is it sounds like nothing, but for a podcast about martial arts and lightsabers, that's quite a feat. I feel like.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you to all
so,
of you
yeah,
listeners out
thank you
there.
to all of you, and thank you to Matthew because they're used to hearing us talk, and like
Yeah,
a
and I
lot of
just
people
filled the
know
whole
our
two
opinions on these
hours.
things. And Alan and I agree about a lot of things as well. So,
Right.
for you and I,
So,
and Alan to have this moment again, it's always nice to get that extra parrot in the room.
yeah. Sorry if I didn't really bring out like super tactical
No, I mean
words and
here and there,
whatnot.
and there and here. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
just talking. We're watching and talking, and that's the way it goes. And that's what I think has always kind of set our version of commentary apart. Back to like the original Intergalacticon tournaments, like we're doing,
Oh
and
God.
even the practice tournaments that Steve had
What
us
a
commentate while we were chilling in the basement, getting high on suds, so to
getting
speak.
sloshed.
And back in Bede's days of a fifth of Jameson a day. Um,
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
yeah. Well, he's been sober for like 5 years now.
Proud of
Um,
him.
Shout out to Bede, man. Sober
Yeah.
is a
Oh
joke.
man.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I mean it's just you see the growth and everything, but also just our brand of commentary is very like, yes, there's technique, yes, there's technical, but also we're having fun watching our friends fight, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that in a lot of sports, like you have to be very procedural, but you also have to have the color commentator too, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
know what's going on and appreciate it at the same time and enjoy it at the same time. So I think, you know, between the three of us, we covered all the bases we need to cover in that regard.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so on that note, I will say this is if whoever made it this far, thank you. Much
Yes,
appreciate.
yes.
You're amazing. You're the best. Here's something that I'm planning on doing for San Diego Sabers. This is in the works because I'm a college kid, implying that I'm poor. Um, what we want to do next for SDS is live stream fights weekly. At least maybe once a month we'll have a camera set up and have people fight in front of a stream. And just have essentially what we just did, but live between maybe we were thinking Jonathan and I could sit down at the table and just sort of have two people fight and we just talk about it, and maybe it
Yeah.
might not be accurate information, maybe it might be shit talking. Actually, it's mostly just gonna be shit talking, but the I think that's something to look forward to. I think it'll be fun, and right now I'm just getting logistics of how to get internet in the middle of a park.
Well, let me
Um,
know if when you do that and we can create posts on YouTube linking those streams on our
Yes,
on like the
please.
social tab on YouTube. We can create some
Yes.
posts for that and link those up.
I think
Because
it'll be so fun.
SDS is one of the original SMAF schools. So everything you do, we want to help you do,
Absolutely.
and be a part of it. And this was one of my favorite things that we have seen from, just one of my favorite tournaments we've seen in a while. Like,
Oh,
and Alan's had amazing tournaments with Phoenix. Saber Light has been doing
Yes.
great things, but
Mhm.
we haven't seen a San Diego Sabres tournament in a while, so it was nice, man. It was great. It was like
It
it's
feels
like getting the
good,
band
right?
back together.
Yeah, we're back. You know, the homies are here.
So next
Nice.
time we do a fight night with you guys or whatever, fight night is a Saber Light thing, but anytime we do another commentary with you guys, I'd like to maybe see if we can get Kay on as well. I know he's hung out
Yes.
with you guys so much over the years, and now he's kind of a member of San Diego Sabres as well. So we'd love to have Kay join us for commentary as well, and a seasoned judge and combatant himself. So
Absolutely.
and all around great guy. We love having Kay on.
I
Sojido
saw
too
him
just
literally
released
yesterday.
recently, and we're going to be recording that one with him, Alan, soon. Actually, that might be another way to have Matthew on as well. Maybe for an edition of Sojido with Kay. That's kind of Kay's addendum to the podcast, where we talk about some nitty gritty topics around martial arts and stuff. Like we watched a guy get his arm broken in a jiu-jitsu match and talked
wait,
about
where
that.
am I? Hold on. I'm forcing an invite.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Get me in there.
Yeah, for sure. The next one, I think we're well, it Kate doesn't know this yet, but the next one I think we're gonna watch a video where a dad and his son are sparring, and that's all I'll say about that.
I don't like that. I love it. Let's do it. Let's
So
watch it.
yeah,
Go.
it should be fun. Anyway, yes, go to san diego sabres.life or sabermartialarts.life and click on the San Diego Sabres tab, click on the Phoenix Saber tab, click on any tab you want. There will be more tabs coming soon here. I know I keep saying that, but hey, life is a process, and the process is not always quick. We have the USA light fencing certifications we just finished. Me and Alan, we have that playlist up. Those podcasts have been out by now. Please go check those out. Go check out our patreon.com/SMA Foundation. It's like not expensive. You spend more on Starbucks every day than it would cost you to become a true lightsaber student by joining the SMAF Patreon. It does not take much, and the benefits are really quite large. Alan and I spent quite a bit of time hashing out what we thought was, honestly, I feel like Santa Claus is little elf, and Alan is like the Filipino Santa Claus, because like we really wanted people to feel like, if you want to participate with Saber Martial Arts, we want to participate with you. We want to give back to you. And I feel like, man, you should go check out that Patreon because it's worth your time. Also, thank you to the 1,800 plus people who listen to this show all over the world. Danke schön, muchas gracias, molto bene, and all the things. Sheshe. I don't know. Spasiba. I don't know any other languages. I don't even know those languages. But I really thank you, and we really appreciate it. And Alan, Matthew, do you have anything else you want to plug before we go?
No.
Solid. I
Saber
love
Light
it.
Nights has a thing. The
Oh,
next
that's
couple
right.
weeks
Yes.
have, the Praxium.
If you can make it out to Charlottesville,
so,
Virginia, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Do you know what the date is? Did you say it already?
It's the weekend of the 17th.
Okay. So by the time they're hearing this, that probably will have happened. But there's a but. There's always a but. Check out the Saberlight YouTube channel. And again, we can probably link that in our social tab on our YouTube channel because they are guaranteed to have stuff posted. And I'll probably have to get in contact with Ryan and see, because that's my son's birthday, so I won't be able to go this year. I offered to teach, and then Courtney told me the date, and I was like, so Alan, you're not able to go to that either this year, are you?
No, I'm going.
Oh, you are? Oh, sweet. Dope. Love that.
There you
Okay,
go.
so Alan's going to have stuff for us to view. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Courtney and Ryan and their YouTube channel, they'll have stuff for us to view. And if you can make it out to Charlottesville, Virginia ever, and you want to take some Saber classes, that's who you go check out. They also have sort of an offshoot school in Virginia Beach now, right? Virginia Beach. That's where Vince
Correct.
oh, come on, tip of my tongue. Come on, what's her name? There. Oh my gosh. Come on, Alan. Red Fayuse. What's her name? Come on, tip of my tongue. Saber Light.
I can't help you, bro.
She's one of their only females.
Oh,
I'm
jeez.
sorry. I was like, who are you talking
Oh, I'm
about?
so sorry too. Like this, Christy.
Oh
Oh my
man.
gosh,
Mr.
Christy.
Jerome.
Oh my gosh, so
Christy
sad that
Jerome, yes.
I couldn't just take that off the
I'm
tip of my
like,
tongue.
what? I
Uh,
was trying to figure out who you're talking
there's
about, but I
only
was
so
like,
many females in saber
right.
fighting. Like it's not that hard, Fode. Okay, so shout out to Vince and Christy because I believe both of them are sort of heading up that Virginia Beach endeavor. So,
Correct.
San Diego, go check out them. If you're anywhere in the SoCal area, go check out a San Diego practice and reach out to them and find out when you can go and what you need to bring. Other than that, check us out all the time. Thank you very much. Go to our things. Bring your own saber.
Woohoo.
Bring your own saber, and this party's over.